And welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Sports Daily. Jacob Albracht alongside you here for the ride. Paul Savage is in for Tommy today. Chad Chambers driving this ship for us, manning that IHOP hotline. We're glad to have you with us on a midweek edition. Katie Woods with the NBC World Series. They've got a special event with the regular festivities coming this year. We'll talk to her in a little while about what they have going on for a few minutes, spend a little time there. Looking forward to that conversation. It's busy, an interesting time in the sports world. The NBA playoffs begin with the play-in. Is the Golden State dynasty dead as they lose to the Kings last night? The Lakers survive it. We can get into that just a little bit, but we got a lot to discuss today here on the show. Paul, we've got college football talk, which you and I always love to do. Some interesting developments as we look ahead maybe to a redoing of things at some point down the line in college football. So we can get into that a little bit. The numbers are in for the WNBA draft. Probably won't surprise you that they were very high. So we'll take a look at that and look at, rookie salaries are back in the news with the WNBA, of course, now with Caitlin Clark in there. So we can take a peek at that as well. It's interesting, of course, it always is. To see where things sit with, what women are paid. And, of course, we have this scenario now this year where, my goodness, Caitlin Clark has totally transformed everything. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. We've got so much to come here, Paul. We got Royals baseball. They were rained out yesterday. We'll get into that. Tell you what the latest is there. There's a sort of a, just a smattering of things that we've got to get off our chest today. Paul, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How you doing, big boy? It's good to be back on the show, and I can tell you right now, it's really interesting. All the stories, the potential stories that we're going to talk about today, I find fascinating, and I know some of them. And of course, I chuckle when you use the word we were into the NBA playoffs. Well, we're not into the playoffs
not quite
yet. They're play-ins, and I don't know if that's a significant difference. But you watched, if you watched any of those games last night. It's obvious that nobody that's winning it, and tonight's play-ins also. Let's not forget what the Hawks and the Bulls.
Yeah, we'll forget tonight. Let's be real. Last night was the star-studded night, and then tonight you've got Heat, Sixers. They're good games. Don't get me wrong. Hawks, Bulls, but you had the aging teams in action last night.
And none of these teams are going to win an NBA championship. I think we can safely say that none of these teams are going to win the whole thing. So with that being said, but it's going to be a fascinating playoffs. You know what I like? And I don't even know if you want to get into the NBA playoffs yet, but when you do, I'm finding it fascinating. We're talking about teams that we don't talk about a lot as potential champions. And I kind of like that, Jacob. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of fun to talk about. I'm going to throw out an example, the Oklahoma Cities of the world. They're getting some love on this thing.
They should be. They're the one seed.
They're getting some love. And so, why not? But anyway, with that being said, it's going to be an interesting play. This isn't going to be the Warriors. This isn't going to be the Lakers. This isn't going to be, the teams that we think it's not going to be the Heat. It's not going to be some of the teams that we've grown accustomed to seeing in the championship games or, eventually winning an NBA championship. It's going to be somebody different. It's going to be somebody that, 4 or 5 years ago, we had no idea that they'd be where they are.
Well, the Nuggets are the heavy favorite, so it won't be if it's the Nuggets.
No, but
and so
you know what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Look, listen, I'm interested. I'm intrigued by the Thunder, and if this can translate into the postseason.
Why not?
We don't know that yet. One of the best players in the world, Luka Doncic, is going to get another shot at a postseason, try to get something done. So there's a lot of intrigue there. We'll get into. I'm with you though. The play-ins don't do a lot for me, but I think most avid NBA people would tell you that they like them. At least that's the sense I get. So that's coming. Paul, I sent you this yesterday. And by the way, you can always watch it. It took us just an extra second. My computer crashed, but we've got up our video stream now on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. So that's available there for you too. If you can't call into the show, you can always leave us your comments on any of those. We get those fed right to us. We can get those out over the air and onto the screen here. So we appreciate everybody that watches us as well as listens to us every day here on Sports Daily. I sent you this yesterday, Paul, And it's interesting. So we've talked, maybe it was last week when you were in, or a couple of weeks ago, the reporting began that there are conversations happening among power players about a break off of college football. Now, that shouldn't surprise anybody. We've been talking about that general idea for 2 years now. We've seen a lot of realignment. This would dissolve some of that, certainly, at least from a football perspective, to come up with some super league. So yesterday, Sportico, I guess, got their hands on, it sounds like, some sort of like slide from a presentation that was supposed to be private that laid out a 70 team super league, which is made up of 7 sort of directional divisions, and then another 10 teams that would be able to sort of come in and out, right, by relegation. If you pay attention to soccer, you basically, if you're really bad, you get bumped out. And if you get bumped out, you have an opportunity at some point to play your way back in. Now, just to give people some perspective on, what group that might include under this proposed league, Boise State would be at the top end of that. Liberty, who we've seen have a lot of success. But then there's a lot of teams, Toledo, Tulane, UTSA, that maybe it's like, okay, we could live with that, right? Like we might be able to live with that. I don't see a team like San Diego State on here, so I'm assuming they'd be. So there'd be some good teams in there that can play their way in. But as an example, there it is. As another example, Paul, it would have, for instance, Kansas and Kansas State in a league called the Plains with BYU, Colorado, Iowa, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Utah, Wisconsin, which would be a lot of fun. I think a lot of people would like to see Missouri get mixed in there, but you never know. Who knows how that would actually shake out? But it would be interesting. These conversations are so preliminary because there would be so much that has to change, right? You've got these, television deals that have to be played out. Dennis Dodd, on, in commentary on that, graphic or whatever, that idea being released, said, most of the indications are that the power players would like it not to be 80, but far smaller, the 34 or whatever we've heard about. And, I think that's a dangerous proposition. I don't think that's a good idea to go that small. I think you have to basically take what's in the Power Four right now and find a way for them all to still compete for the title. And you can do it otherwise, however it is that you'd want to. Again, these are just ideas, Paul. We know it's way more complicated than that. How do you have a level playing field in NIL, in facilities and everything else? Some of these schools may not want something like this. They may be perfectly content to say, no. Like, why don't we just stick around in our leagues as they currently consist? Because with fewer teams and more like teams with us, we could spend more, we could have more advantageous rules than if we're trying to find a level playing field among 80 teams. So I don't know where all of this lands. I do, though. I am warming to the idea, Paul, if it's going to break away from the NCAA, which seems inevitable, of this relegation thing among what would basically be the FCS now, right? That second tier, 1AA, for those of us who still think of it that way. Having everybody else in some sort of relegation like that, I think would be interesting. I think it would be okay. I think it would be fine. I think it could work. But there's so much money involved. I don't know how you would ever govern it, because that's sort of the NCAA's problem now, right? How do you govern and try to find Alabama and Oregon State playing under the same rules? There's such a difference in those schools now. We see it in other pro sports. They're able to get it done. But this is interesting, and it's just furthering this idea of the big Super League, Paul.
Well, there's some good things about this that I kind of like, and that is it does give the opportunity to some of the lesser leagues, members of the lesser leagues. I like the rotation. By the way, that division is called the Underleague Division. Underleague. Jiminy Christmas, can't you come up with a better name than the Underleague Division? But anyway, you get my point. I like the fact that they're being included. There's 8 teams listed, and you named off a few of them, and it will rotate, because that under league division would include, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, 30, 40, maybe maybe a few more teams than that could potentially be in the top.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it would be basically the remainder of what
That's-
currently sits in the FCS. I don't know how you determine who gets in, who gets out. But you know what it does, Paul?
What's that?
How often? Now, you're a huge football guy.
I love
right?
football.
You're a big football guy.
Well, sure.
Paul.
I think a lot of people are.
You're as big a football consumer as there is on the planet.
I think so. I consume my share.
Be real with the audience here, Paul. How often are you watching FCS football?
Well, I don't.
Now,
I want to say quite
and that's
a bit.
not.
I want to say.
Let me rephrase. That's
Okay.
not fair because
right.
it's not necessarily FCS. It's basically the non-power league. So it'd be like the American.
That's a
so that is unfair.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me. I apologize.
That's no problem.
Because it's not FCS. Now I don't know if some of the best of the FCS could get in this thing, which would be interesting.
Well, I know what you meant.
Let's say
I know what you meant.
Let's say it's non-power 5, right?
Okay. All right.
How much American or Mountain West or whatever football are you watching on a regular basis?
Particularly if one of those teams that we consider is going to be one of the power members of the under division.
Yeah, if they have a chance at the playoffs, right? You might watch them.
Oh, I'm going to watch them if they match up with a Power 5 conference team, like in a non-conference.
Now, currently, right?
Yeah,
currently.
As we sit.
But
now.
let's just say it's how likely would you be to watch Tulane play UTSA or Boise State play UNLV? How likely would you be under the current, like tomorrow, next season? Would you be to watch those games?
I'm going to give you a truthful answer. I would watch it if there was no other football to watch. I'll put it that way. I mean, I would watch it.
I'll give you an even more honest, and I would not watch it.
Oh, you would watch it?
I would.
Well, I would.
No.
And now, am I going to watch?
Not unless it maybe if one of the teams had an NFL type quarterback, or if it was late in the season and had playoff implications. But in the middle of October, right? I'm not watching AAC football.
Well, I was going to say, if there's nothing else, if there's no other games that, and particularly if there's no football, because on an occasion you get a Friday night game and there's no competition with regards to, other than high school. And I don't like Friday college football games, by the way. I think we've talked about that. Well, I know it's coming because it's a night of the week that you can get, football on television. We understand what I like Friday nights for the high school kids. That's just me. But that's not going to be the way of the real world. But I would watch those kind of games if there's probably nothing else to watch, because I'm going to watch the Big 12. I'm always fascinated with the SEC, the Big 12. What will I watch what is left of the Pac-12? I'm not sure what the Pac-12 is at this point. I don't know who all. I don't even know who all's in it. Or I should rephrase that. I know who's in it. I don't know who's going to be in it at this point. We've got some ideas, but I probably wouldn't watch a lot of that. But I can't tell you that I watched a lot of Pac-12 football to start with. Not that much. I watched enough last year. We had conversations where I criticized USC's defense a lot last year, if you remember correctly. I said this is a good football team offensively, but they can't stop the East High Blue Aces. And so it's one of those things where, I'll watch these undercard games if there's not a whole lot. I know it sounded flippant and I know it sounded like I was trying to make a joke, but my point is that we're getting to the point. Not only are we doing this league,
it's not a joke.
We're going to have football.
It's honesty. We don't watch those games that often. Right. You might bet them. You might watch them if you bet them.
Right. But you're going to watch them though, Jacob, because you're going to have a college
no.
Tuesday.
I'm not talking about the future. Right, Paul.
Okay. I got you.
So
okay.
In the current state of things, I'm saying we don't really watch those games.
No.
However,
if
there was like a relegation factor in it, if you're playing to like try to get yourself up I might watch that. Right? If on the line is your status in this league,
well,
like if the loser of that game gets like kicked out for that for the next season or whatever it is, now you got my attention a little bit. Right? We love the playoffs. We love the playoffs.
You can't help yourself. Yeah.
That does, I think, add a little intrigue, because and the hardest part about all of this is if you're a fan of those schools, you hate it, right? Because you feel like you're not playing. But what the elephant in the room has always been, if you're at Tulane or any of these schools,
right,
and I only use them as an example because they're in the American and we think about them, you don't have a chance to win a college football championship anyway.
No.
Like you don't.
No.
Right? It's not college basketball where it's a puncher's chance in every game. It's not college baseball where, we get, teams all over the country regardless of conference in the mix. It's college football. It's hard enough to even think of yourself as a contender if you're in a power conference. And the reality is, you're kind of not, right? It's the same teams every year. So I think it's an interesting idea. I think that you're there, at least these powers that be, and we'll see how much power they actually have if the television networks are involved. At least these powers that be that are beginning to have these conversations and do these things are trying, Paul, to keep everybody involved. And that's what has always been important to me. Like, you have to at least continue to make this a product that appeals to people regionally. And because the danger is everyone tries to think of it as something nationally, but college football will never compete with the NFL that way. You're just not going to ever have something that we are watching no matter what, like we watch the NFL. And I feel like they think they can do that if they weed out the lower teams, but I think the opposite would happen. I think you'd have far less interest. And I've said this 100 times. You have to keep me interested in football that's being played in the SEC by, making me think the teams I'm watching are going to be able to meet them in the postseason. If you took that away, boy, I'd be far less likely to watch those games.
I think you're right. And by the way, this Goliath setup that you're talking about, we live for those moments. I mean, you brought it up. I think it was you. I don't think it was Tommy that I did a show with not that long ago, within the last month, where we brought up Boise State and Oklahoma back, what was it, maybe 15 years ago?
That was me. It was one of the best college football games ever.
I had the time of my life, and that was so much fun. And watching Goliath be slain, and then the proposal at the back of the end zone by one of their players to his cheerleader girlfriend. I mean, it was like magic. And we live for those moments. The problem is we don't get many of those moments, do we? We don't get many of those moments. But you want to know something? There's hope for those moments. And where there's hope, it will eventually happen. And then it happens and we talk about it. But you gotta give those teams a chance to slay Goliath. That's just what you got to do. If you want to be considered fair, if you want to have, and by the way, it's smart on behalf of this organization that's going to have, and I'm not even sure what the organization is called, it's going to manage these 80 teams or plus teams, because you've got to have the entire country involved in your league, in your idea, in what you're trying to do. And you've got to have everybody, and that means everybody's got to have a chance. You go into August, everybody's got a chance. You go into December, not so many have a chance, but you had the chance, and that's what you got to have. I like the way this is being set up. I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm
encouraged by it, Paul. Encouraged by it.
But it still has, but I mean, the Big 12 will still be, those kids will still be playing for a Big 12 championship. The Sun Belt. And by the way, you said, well, nobody in the Sun Belt is going to have a chance to win a national championship game.
In the current model
right now. And we all understand that those kids that go to James Madison, those kids that go to Troy, those kids that go to Boise, those kids that go to whatever school it might be University of Texas, San Antonio, wherever they go understanding that they won't win a national championship. But you know what those schools give you if you win a championship? They give you darn nice rings. I have seen some of those conference championship rings from the WAC and those kind of, the Joston representative here in Wichita showed me some of those sample rings of those football championship leagues. I'm telling you, Jacob, you're playing for a darn nice ring, and you're playing for a championship. It's not a national championship, but you know how hard it is to win a Sun Belt championship? It's dang hard.
They're keeping everybody involved in these initial conversations.
Bingo, thank you.
And that's what matters. And we'll see. I mean, we're far way off. TV deals have to expire.
Well,
this is nothing that's going to happen anytime soon. But it's interesting to see the beginning conversations.
It is.
You can chime in on the IHOP hotline. 869-1240 is the number to call there. You can always listen to the show, by the way, if you're getting out of your car, if we're talking and you want to just download that Odyssey app, or you can go to odyssey.com. You can listen to us live that way. Jad podcasts the show if you miss anything. So you can always check us out. Free Odyssey app. We're going to come right back. It's in the news. It's the hot topic. Caitlin Clark, WNBA draft, big numbers, contracts in the WNBA in the news again here. We'll begin to discuss that when we return on Sports Daily. Mornings at KFH. Staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. Always appreciate their support here on the program. Don't forget, Katie Woods of the NBC World Series going to join us in the next hour to talk just a little bit about an event they have coming up. So we'll have that for you. Paul, this is in the news. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage here. Jad Chambers driving this thing. IHOP hotline open at 869-1240. So the WNBA draft has big numbers. We know that college basketball on the women's side had bigger numbers than ever before. We know that Iowa LSU was the highest rated basketball game in a long time on the women's side.
Yep.
Though there is no question that the sport is exploding, which is really cool to see. There's no question Caitlin Clark's impact on that, and other stars too. There have been, a nice coming together of a lot of stars in women's college basketball. Caitlin Clark certainly at the forefront in her record-breaking season, attendance records, sellouts, all these things that have followed her. And it has clearly followed her into her first chapter of the WNBA, which is the draft, where everybody knew what was going to happen, but they had big numbers. Almost 3 million people watched the WNBA draft. So that has a lot of people now comparing things. That there's a lot of people talking about rookie contracts. So Victor Wembanyama I believe, has a rookie salary of about $12 million. His number one overall pick last year. Caitlin Clark's WNBA rookie year base salary is going to be about $76,000.
Right.
The WNBA average salary right now, according to Fortune, is $113,000. The league's highest paid player makes about pretty close to $250,000 a year. The NBA average salary is much higher. It is I'm just trying to find, but we know how ridiculous NBA salaries are, right, Paul? People are making upwards of $80 million a year. I believe the average last year, it was about $4.5 million in the NBA. It's a very high average salary compared to the other sports. So a lot of people are pointing out the inequity there and are upset about it. But I would also, in fairness for this conversation, point you to the fact that NBA viewership last year, according to the Sports Business Journal, averaged $1.62 million a game. The WNBA average viewership last year, which was up 21%, was a third of that, Paul, at 500,000 viewers per game. Attendance in the NBA average is right now just over 18,000 fans a game, 71% of which were sellouts. The average crowd, the average attendance in the WNBA, it's cited, is about 6,600 fans, so about a third of that. And that was up big time last year. So this is multi-layered, right? You can't, the WNBA is going to go out of business if it just starts paying players the way NBA players are paid, because it doesn't generate that sort of revenue. Now, when you look at this as an interesting point of, it looks like ratings and attendance for the WNBA versus the NBA, they're about a third from what I can find here quickly at just a quick search. Caitlin Clark's rookie salary is far, 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 far less than a third of what Victor Wembanyama will make. So in that sense, yeah, that might be unfair. The problem is you've had this, last year, what numbers I just cited from the WNBA were all up massive amounts, right? Like 20%. So if you go back to what's been building those rookie salaries versus back what's built NBA salaries, it's not the same. As I'm watching highlights of a game last night between the Pelicans and Lakers in what looks like about a half-empty arena.
Yeah.
That's a playoff game.
Yeah, and that's a playoff
game.
So
the point of all of it is NBA players are so marketable and they're making money. The WNBA, I think, I have a lot of thoughts on this, Paul. I'm not sure that the WNBA will ever be as popular as women's college basketball, because you have the tournament aspect of it. You have college basketball fans on campuses and now which are growing on TV that love their college athletes. Is there room for another pro sports league for already sports consumers? I would contend probably not. I think the biggest challenge for the WNBA is we're all already routine driven in what we watch, right? We barely have room for what we already watch. So to ask us to take on another pro league is an interesting ask.
Right.
Whereas college basketball, it just sort of runs, in tandem almost now. But I will say what the WNBA could tap now, which we saw in college basketball last year through Caitlin Clark, is a totally different audience. Right? The beauty of Caitlin Clark's rise and the elevation of the sport has been all the different people she has turned into sports fans in general. They were not sports fans before, right? A lot of people that didn't care anything about sports, men, women, mothers, daughters, especially the women, right? Like you've got an untapped audience in a lot of ways. I cannot fathom the burden, Paul, that Caitlin Clark is going to continue to carry into now her professional career. Think about all the people that are going to be impacted based on what she does professionally. By the way, Caitlin Clark's rookie salary is not very much. She will make, I would bet you this right now on April 17th, Paul, that she will make I don't know how you ever figure the average endorsements for NBA players, but she's going to be up there with any male player in what she'll make in endorsements. Watch how big the inevitable shoe deal is about to be for Caitlin Clark. That's what I'll say.
Yeah,
you see these crazy shoe deals, these apparel companies, there is not a basketball player on the planet right now, man, woman, don't care. There is not a basketball player on the planet right now that will sell more shoes than Caitlin Clark. And watch how much she's about to get paid for that.
She's going to get paid. There's no question. And going to Indiana, by the way, is great for her because she's going to keep a lot of her endorsements in the region, a regional type endorsement that's going to continue, which is perfect for her. She's better off there than, say, Phoenix, which may or may not may move. I don't know. I'm not sure. But, you talk about, the 2.7, 2.8 million people that watched the draft. Guess who one of those 2.7 million was? Would you like to guess? It was me. I was one of them. However, let me put it this way. I watched for 3 picks because after Caitlin Clark, I wanted to see where Reese would go. And I really thought she would go in the top 2 or 3, but she didn't. She went number 7. And I got tired of waiting, particularly because here's the other side of the coin, Jacob. I saw Caitlin Clark drafted. Yeah, expected. We knew it was going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen. It had already been, said that it was going to happen. But I wasn't familiar with the number 2 pick and number 3 pick. I'm not familiar with them. Just, and it's not that I'm not following it. I guess I'm not following it. I did, and they're famous.
Yeah, I mean, the number 3 pick was the best, was the best player in the national championship game.
Sure. So I mean, I'm not familiar with.
You're not incorrect, Paul. So
you can't. Can you build here? Can you build a
Paul?
I
think
you're the.
I think you and I are good examples of this.
Okay.
We are sports fans in general.
Yes,
I don't care
what
right. it is.
That's correct.
I don't care what it is. I love basketball. I love high school girls basketball. I love college women's basketball. I have never been a consumer of the WNBA. I'm not a consumer of the NBA anymore. Right. Much. I will be now that they're into their postseason.
I watch it more than I have in a long. Really, I'm into it a little bit.
The point is, we're our attention is shorter. We have less room for all of it. So I think what you see yesterday is this, outrage, we can call it, fake outrage, whatever it is, right? That, oh my goodness, can you believe this? I just can't believe it. And I'm like, really? You can't believe it? When was the last time you watched a WNBA game? Stop with the phony baloney. Look at me, how mad I can get about this. Should Caitlin Clark make more than $76,000 a year? Of course she should. And she will, right? But it's not always Caitlin Clark sitting there. It's not always Victor Wembanyama sitting there. Sometimes, like every sport scales their rookie contracts, right? Every sport does that. So, you go to the average WNBA salary, 115,000. The thing about Caitlin Clark that's going to always drive her in the NBA, Paul, you have you don't the league has been around enough and popular enough that salaries are based pretty solely, not completely, but mostly on ability, right? The WNBA isn't probably quite there yet. So Caitlin Clark, her salary, her earning potential is going to be tied to how much attention she brings to the game or to your team or how many tickets she sells you. It's almost old school in that way, right? Like if you're if you got a traveling show, right? And we're not talking sports or anything else, you're gonna pay the most to the people who draw the biggest crowds. And Caitlin Clark has shown the crowds that she is drawing are unfathomable by comparison to her peers. So it's like, okay, well, there's that piece of it. And then there's the endorsement piece. As she's already made all this money and she's about to make a ton more, I'm telling you, she's going to make a ton of money. Ton. Like you can't even imagine it. That's Caitlin Clark's burden now to bear for women's basketball. And she bore it well, Paul, in college. I don't know if it's going to translate the same way. I'm curious. I can almost promise you that I will, even with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, watch more women's college basketball next year than the WNBA, even with Caitlin Clark in it. Maybe that changes, and we'll see. I mean, I'll never make that proclamation until it happens and I see it. But the way that she has changed the game is, I mean, it's like, I don't even know what it's like, Paul, because you'd have to go so far back to compare it, right? The way that she has drawn attention to it like never before. Mm-hmm. I mean, neither one of us know this answer. Is it Babe Ruth to baseball? It would be different than Michael Jordan to the NBA. Michael Jordan transformed things, but the NBA was already popular when he went into it.
That's right.
I honestly, I don't even know what to compare it to. I don't think you can, because you'd have to go so far back to what she has done for women's basketball. Does it suck that she's going to make $76,000? That's the rookie scale in the WNBA. The WNBA is growing in popularity. That's awesome. We all love that, right? But it hasn't been popular before. Mm-hmm. So what do you expect these teams to do? Go bankrupt? No, like you got to give it time. Let Caitlin Clark's footprint expand what those salaries are. Because it will. If she goes into the WNBA and finds a ton of success and people are watching, it's going to help every player across. What did Dawn Staley say? She took extra time celebrating a national championship to thank Caitlin Clark for what she has done for the women's game. Let's see if she can do it at the pro level. It would be incredible if she does. I can't wait to see it if she does. WNBA draft, chapter 1, Paul, record viewership. So what do we think's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah, what do you think's going to happen now?
Well, we're going to tune in. She better not be a bust. Caitlin Clark better not be a bust.
Does everybody tune in? Maybe not, but a whole lot more people will, and an untapped audience will.
Well, they're going to have a chance
I'm also
to make an
curious.
Yeah.
Another piece of it is I'm curious to see if her audience grows or shrinks being in college versus the pros. As somebody who loves college women's basketball, right, and is not a consumer at the pro level, outside of the Olympics, I am. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see. I hope that she continues to be able to handle it well, and it's not too much because, my goodness, we have not seen an athlete have to do something like this in a long, long time. And she's owned it so far. She's done a great job. And I cannot wait to see her. I guess I will tune in because I want to see if her game translates. And I want to see if she can do it against these awesome pros in the WNBA. But we'll see. You can chime in 869-1240 on it. It will be fun. On the way out, Paul, let's give away some HTO.
Let's do it.
Let's give away some iced tea. More than 25 flavors. You've got Strawberry Passion as the new seasonal flavor. I'll tell you this, too, on the tea. We're taking a lot of these orders. My wife and it's our business. Full disclosure. Taking a lot of orders for teachers' lounges. Teachers Appreciation Week is coming up. A lot of people are getting gallons, iced cups, and they'll just deliver them deliver them to the teacher's lounge. They'll come pick them up and take them to the teacher's lounge for that week, and they could just kind of have a tea party. But anyway,
That's
you can
cool.
get a cup. You can get a free tea card on us. Come in, try it, see what you think. That's good in either Wichita location, East or West, or in Derby. You can also get a free Rain coffee card, which is good for any coffee drink. That's available in Derby in East Wichita. Good luck. We'll do that for the first caller right now to the IHOP hotline at 869-1240. We'll come back. A lot to get to today on Sports Daily. Don't go away.
869-1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. This portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. We've got interesting golf weather. Speaking of Crestview Country Club, a couple courses out there you can play, north and south. Get out there, check it out. All kinds of memberships that they offer that you can play as much or as little golf as you want. Lots of different options for you out there. Paul, it's that time of year to play golf. Today will actually be as nice. You get the wet, you get the sunshine, you get the temperatures, you don't have the wind. Might be a nice day to get out there. I'll tell you something I like about, golf at Crestview is I don't have to play 18 holes because I don't have time to play 18 holes. And I don't have to feel bad about it. I can just jump out there, play as many holes as I want to. You in golf mode yet? How much golf do you play, Paul?
Well, no, I used to play a lot. As a matter of fact, I lived on a golf course for 30 years, but I just never really had, I'm a busy guy. You got to have considerations for a lot and allowing your time to what you have. And I couldn't get enough time to get any good at it. So it's been very, very difficult over years to play. But what I like about Crestview Country Club and your situation is you go run out there, then you run right over to your East store for H2O and HTO, I should say, and you're there to do some business. You can take care of things, run right back to the golf course if you wanted. I mean, how perfect is it for you? You got your business a half a mile away from the golf course?
It's about a half mile.
Yeah, it's not far. So I mean, man, you got it made, baby. You got it.
It's not bad. It's not bad. We appreciate
it's great. Yeah.
We appreciate their partnership with this show, and it felt like a good partnership to, check it out. Check it out, see if they've got something you might be interested. My wife plays tennis there all the time.
Can I say one thing?
Camps and all that stuff.
Let me say one thing, because I know they're a sponsor and I know that, but I mean, they have other facilities within their complex. I mean, I've actually been to a couple of acting seminars, believe it or not, for theater.
Oh, interesting.
And they have, if you're looking for a place that you need
event space,
I guess is the way they would phrase that. It's a great place for those kind of things. They're just really wonderful places that are very, perfect for learning things and seminars and that kind of stuff. And I've really enjoyed the time I've spent out there in their classrooms, believe it or not. Now, that coming from me, that's something to think that I'm still in class, huh?
That you've ever been in class. I get it's surprising.
Yeah.
Paul, Royals today, doubleheader. You'll hear most of it with us today on the network. 1:00 coverage begins at the first game. It's Brady Singer and Michael Wacha. It's 2 games against the White Sox. Pretty good opportunity for a doubleheader sweep on the road here, I would think, today. It was a bummer that they didn't get to play last night, but here we go. Brady Singer. I can't wait to see Singer pitch again. He's sort of become that thing to watch early in this season because we all want to know, is this real?
Well,
is it real?
Yeah.
Is Brady Singer for real on this? Like, can he really keep this going? We get a chance against a bad team again today. Day baseball, and you get to hear all of it with us. But, doubleheader on a Wednesday doesn't sound too bad.
No. And by the way, congratulations, Royals. And I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. The Royals have me getting up in the morning and checking box scores if I didn't see a score that from the night before.
Old school, kicking it old school.
Do you realize how long it's been since the Royals have interested me enough to do that? Well, we're probably going back to the World Series years. But I mean, it's been
maybe
a while.
A year or two after that.
Yeah. It's been a minute or two, and all I'm saying is that's encouraging for me. It's just sort of a tradition. You get up, you check the box scores on your phone, and you're ready to go. But I mean, come on, they're making me do it. They're making me do it, and that's a beautiful thing, Jacob.
It is, and it's baseball, and we love baseball. We're very glad we have it back. We're very glad we have relevant baseball back.
Relevant baseball. Well said.
That's right. That's right. When we come back, we'll talk a little more Chiefs draft. We're now 1 week away, Paul, the official from round 1. Johnny Furphy is in the NBA draft. We expected this.
Right.
His situation's really, really interesting. We'll tell you why as we come back. We've also got Katie Woods of the NBC World Series on next hour to tell us about a pretty interesting event they have coming up pretty soon. We'll do it all in the second hour, plus your calls to the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. Don't go away. More Sports Daily right after this.
NFL Love Mornings with Bob and Tom on 97.5 and 1240 KFH, Wichita's most listened to sports radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
As you know, summer is right around the corner, and for most people, that means more activities, more golf, more biking, more of whatever you love to do. But if you're dealing with aches and pains, your more could become less. This is why I'm here to tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. See, instead of masking your pain, Relief Factor's formula is designed to help reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. And it's been a game changer for so many people. So let's get after it this summer. Let's feel good. Let's do more of the things that we love to do. Don't let pain keep you down. Give Relief Factor a try and save on your first order. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Help fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Our temps are currently in the upper 60s with scattered thunderstorms and high winds return later today.
Weather brought to you by Robert Half.
9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring today. Robert Half is here to help. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Does your parking lot or driveway have potholes or other liability concerns in need of repair? Call 316-990-5855 today for a fast, free estimate. Pave the Way are the leaders in the pavement industry, specializing in asphalt and concrete paving, pavement repairs, and routine maintenance. Call 316-990-5855 today. You'll be glad you did.
Pave the way, kicking asphalt every day.
I'm going after the deals at Crazy J's.
Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop is Wichita's favorite furniture and mattress store for 3 generations and counting, offering the largest in-stock selection of quality name-brand mattresses and bunk beds, and so much more at the best prices in town, guaranteed. Living room, dining room, bedroom groups, and accessories with delivery, setup, and special financing available. Open 7 days a week, east at 1026 South Oliver, west at 604 North Tyler. Go see them today.
It's the 16th Annual Independent Living Resource Center Golf Classic at Sand Creek Station in Newton, Friday, May 10th. We welcome players of all abilities and promise a great day of golf at one of the best courses in Kansas. The tournament starts at noon with lunch before and a staked dinner after the tournament and beverages. There'll be awards and chances to win great prizes along with a live auction. Proceeds from the tournament benefit ILRC's Greater Expectations Autism Program for young adults with autism. For more about the tournament, visit ilrcks.org.
Thinking about a bathroom remodel? You should consider the Onyx Collection from Superior Plumbing. Whether it's a standard or a custom shower design, the team at Superior Plumbing can assist you in creating the perfect new bathroom. Oh, and the Onyx Collection is guaranteed forever and made right here in Kansas. Visit the Superior Plumbing showroom at 6837 East Harry today.
Superior Plumbing will come running because we care, treat you fair and square. And our name says it all, Superior.
Baseball fans, support your hometown Shockers this spring. With new head coach Brian Green, the Shockers are playing an exciting brand of baseball, and new enhancements to the outfield experience on Coleman Hill at X Stadium have turned each game into a can't-miss event. Bring in a cooler filled with your own food and beverages out to Coleman Hill for a fun and cheap outing at the ballpark. Select alcoholic beverages are permitted. Restrictions apply, and fans must be 21 to drink. View upcoming games and grab your tickets today. Visit GoShockers.com/tickets or call 316-978-FANS.
They're here. Spangle's new hot chicken melts. Tender grilled chicken piled high on toasted sourdough or crispy chicken chunks. Then topped with fresh lettuce and juicy tomatoes. And let's not forget the star of the show, the ooey gooey melted Swiss cheese. With every bite, you'll savor the perfect combination of flavors and textures. So why wait? Stop by Spangle's and sink your teeth into our new chicken melts. Grilled or crispy chunks. The ultimate sandwich experience. The Spangle's Cherry Limeade Cocktail is the perfect drink to really quench your thirst. It has a 1-2 punch of sweet and tart. The Spangle's Cherry Limeade Cocktail made with vodka is a refreshing cocktail that puts a fun twist on the classic flavor of cherry limeade. Dine in or visit Spangle's Fast Drive-Thru. Take the party home by treating your guests to a Spangle's Cherry Limeade Cocktail. And the extra shot is only 99 cents. Spangle's, where cocktails just taste better. Spangle's reminds you, please drink responsibly and do not drink and drive.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
Big night on the campus of Wichita State, right across the street from each other. Baseball and softball home action tonight at X Stadium. The Wichita State baseball team hosting Oral Roberts in the final home midweek game of the season. Mike Kennedy will be on the air for Shocker Baseball at 5:45 p.m. right here on KFH. And right across the street at Wilkins Stadium, big game tonight at 6 o'clock. Wichita State softball hosting 6th-ranked Oklahoma State. The Cowgirls come to town. A rematch of a regional game from last year in the NCAA tournament. Hall of Fame baseball manager Whitey Herzog has died at the age of 92. He played here in Wichita in the National Baseball Congress World Series in 1953 and 1954, mostly with players from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. In 1954, he batted .453 here in Wichita at the NBC World Series. Longtime manager of the Kansas City Royals and won a World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Whitey Herzog has died at age 92.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
Here we go. Hour number 2 on the program. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage in for Tommy here on this Wednesday. We are happy to be here with you today. Congratulations to Bill for winning our HTO giveaway of some iced tea and some free rain coffee.
Good job, Bill.
Glad to have the ability to do that for you here. We've got Royals baseball coming up today, so make sure to stay tuned for that. That'll begin. It'll cut Rome just a little bit. Begin at 1 o'clock. You've got a doubleheader. More on the Royals perhaps in just a little bit. A couple of things, Paul, as we are now 1 week away. 1 week from the NFL draft, and the Chiefs pick last. What do they do here? I haven't had your thoughts on it, so I wanted to get that into the mix here with the Rashee Rice situation and what do they need to do to address wide receiver, if anything. We've got Johnny Furphy, who has entered the NBA draft process. So we got a couple of things here to touch on in this hour, I think, and then we'll get to Katie Woods, the NBC rep there is going to tell us about an event they have coming up, NBC World Series. Let's start with Johnny Furphy as we sort of get an announcement there that we expected. We knew this was coming. Johnny, I don't know if people, we've talked about it. I don't know that people understand, and I don't fully understand, but I have some grasp of Johnny Furphy's situation being different than a lot of college basketball players. So, most of the time, if a guy, I think now what we'll see in college basketball is if you're not a pretty much guaranteed lottery pick for a high-level college basketball player at a big-time program, we're going to see those guys return more often than not because the NIL opportunities will be too good to pass up if you're not given a lot of the guaranteed money of a lottery pick. Johnny Furphy at one point was projected into the lottery. Most places do not have him there now. So he slides in most mocks to the back end of the first round. Still good money, right? Still good opportunity, all these things. What Johnny Furphy does not have access to that a lot of players do is the full scope of the NIL because he's an international player. Now, it gets a little tricky, and it's been confusing since the onset here because these are not American citizens. And if I understand it correctly, it's like a work visa issue, right? So, a lot of the time international students aren't allowed to do anything but work on campus when they work or do things that like further their education and whatever it is in that field, right? So he can't really do I don't think so. If I understand it correctly, he can't like go and get a car dealership to put him in a commercial and make money that way, right? To work, I guess, for that car dealership. So that limits his opportunities there. Now, what I think he can still do, I believe, is like being an influencer on social media to some degree, which probably has, it certainly has some value, but not like the value that a lot of these players are able to get. So he's got a different situation than if this was just an American college basketball player. A lot more goes into weighing out that decision. You can't earn as much as a college athlete if you're an international player as you can an American athlete because of, work visa issues, I think. So now he's got this decision to make. Is back into the first round good enough to pull him away? If he comes back to KU, Paul, it's not hard to imagine him elevating his game up higher into the first round and potentially even into the lottery. But he's not going to probably be there this year. So he's got a really tough and interesting decision to make when it comes to the NBA draft and potentially returning to KU. There was at one point I had heard, no question he's going to the pros. Then as he's kind of slipped out of the lottery, now it's like, well, maybe not. Our KU insider Shreyas Laddha has wondered those things aloud. I don't think it's as much as a sure thing as it was at one point this season. So what do you do here? This is a unique circumstance for Furphy and for KU.
Yeah, this is the long game. I mean, if you're this young man, you're playing long ball right now. You're going to do what's best in the future, and that's going to be the NBA. So coming back to the University of Kansas, that's the way it.
Or is it elevating your draft status and moving up in the first round to get a whole lot more guaranteed money?
That's the long game in this situation, and it may be that, and he's going to have he said about 5 weeks left before he has to make that decision. So he's got 4 or 5 weeks that he can sit down with people, scouts, organizations, whoever he needs to sit down with, whoever he cherishes their opinion. He can sit down with these people and figure out where he's at. But this is a decision that will affect. I mean, this is a kid, and what's he do well? He shoots the three. We both know the value of the three with regards to the NBA. Ask Steph Curry. How about that? That's a good. There you go. Ask Steph Curry how shooting the three works out for you in the NBA. Pretty darn good, and for an NBA franchise. So with that being said,
he's not that kind of shooter.
But he is
he's a good shooter. He's not that kind of shooter.
Okay, Klay Thompson. Is that better? You like that a little better, maybe? Klay Thompson?
He's not that kind of shooter.
Well,
I think he compares well to Grady Dick.
Well, but see, that's what we call development. That's what we're talking about. What is best?
Yep.
Who's there with Steph Curry in the world right now? Well, nobody. I'm using him as an example as the importance for a basketball team at the NBA level to be able to shoot the three. It's important. You got to have those kind of people. And he would bring that to an NBA franchise, and that has value. That has real value. It has multi-million-dollar value is what it has. So with that being said, he's playing long ball right now. The things that he can do to come back, he's not going to starve on the KU campus if he comes back another year. But I've got a feeling he's going to be told that physically you need to get bigger, stronger, faster, and you will with another year at the University of Kansas. You're going to do those things in the weight room. You're going to get that body that is still rather boyish to becoming a man who can play in the NBA. And I don't see him at this point being physical enough to play in the NBA, which means you're going to end up in the G League. And I don't think that's the best move of all. Would it be better to be in the G League, or would it be better to be playing for the University of Kansas? And I think for overall stock,
you get
money.
You get
in
money, the first round. You get money. You're guaranteed your contract, and then in the second round, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. So if you look at it from a financial perspective, he'll make more if he's drafted in the first round next year, certainly, right, than he would coming back to KU without the same NIL opportunities as, let's say, Hunter Dickinson. Right.
Yeah.
So if he was drafted with we'll just call it the last pick of the first round, he's got a chance to make, the scale sets it for this year at about $2 million, going up to about $2.3 million after year 3. So what is that? $6 million, right? And I think that's all guaranteed in the NBA for the first rounders.
Yeah.
So about $6 million, life-changing. Most of us in our lives don't even see that much money.
By the way, our good friend Dave Phillips, who's a friend of this show, has been on this show numerous times, just sent me a text that Steph Curry shot 38.7% from three-point range his last year in college. There you go.
At Davidson.
At Davidson.
But he shot a much, 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 much higher volume. I would have to go back and look. Much higher volume than Johnny Furphy did.
Right.
Now, could Furphy become that kind of three-point shooter? Sure.
I think he can.
I don't think quite I don't think that's fair.
Well, of course.
Paul, you're talking about the greatest shooter of all time.
He holds the record for the most threes in NBA history. That's saying a lot. I mean, I put him what he wants to shoot for. Everybody wants a Steph Curry on their team.
I mean,
not everybody's going to. No, but not very many are going to have him. But you get my point. The point is he has value. His game lends value to who he is for the NBA. I mean, there's a lot of upside there, Jake.
You know what? By the way, you know what Steph shot his second year of college?
What's that?
44%.
44%. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
and took about 10 a game. So whatever. We don't need to compare Johnny Furphy to Steph Curry. They're not even close
that's
to the same player.
But I was using Steph Curry as an example of what you want. If you're an NBA franchise, he is not even all NBA,
a Hall of Famer and the greatest shooter of all time.
There you
yes,
go.
If you're an NBA franchise, you do want
we all
that,
want
right? Yes,
that,
that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm with you.
So So Furphy can make around $6.5 million.
Yes,
I believe on as if he were the last pick in the first round. Now the risk, of course, is if you fall out of the first round, yikes. That the risk is there.
Right.
If he were able to come back to KU, and let's just say he plays into the lottery, right? So he makes it. He goes from the 30th pick to the 13th pick. Okay. If that happened, then he's going to earn about $12.5 million. So it'd be about double, little less than double, and it's the same guarantees and all that stuff. So it gets interesting when you think about risk versus reward for Johnny Furphy. If he was getting into the lottery and getting into that kind of money, then it's an easy decision, right?
You
got to go, especially if you can't earn NIL.
Jacob, what would you do if you were him right now?
If I were captain NIL?
If you had to make a decision by the end of the day today, what would you do?
Well, I would need. It's hard to say that because I'd need to know from teams.
Okay, that's fair.
If you're telling me, Paul, if you're telling me that I'm guaranteed, that I'm absolutely guaranteed to go in the first round,
okay,
and I can't earn a lot in NIL, I would probably say you got to take the money. Now, again, I also don't know his family situation. I don't know if he needs the money. Those are also things we don't know. But if it were me in my situation, in my life, the way I was brought up, in my upbringing, if you told me that you can guarantee me I would make $6 million over 3 years, obviously with the chance to earn more because you're in the NBA if you become a good player and all that stuff, that possibility exists either way you make the decision. But if you're telling me I can be guaranteed to make $6.5 million, but nothing would be guaranteed if I come back to college. But if I come back to college and continue on the trajectory, could make maybe double that the next year, I'd take the $6.5 million. I would take the guaranteed first round money.
I think he shoots the ball well enough. I gamble on myself, and that's what it is. You're gambling on yourself.
But when you say gamble on yourself, do you mean come back to college and try to elevate your draft status?
I'm going to try to elevate into being not only in the lottery
at KU,
at the University of Kansas.
Yeah, you'd come back.
Oh, I wouldn't go into the portal. No. I'm coming back.
No. Right. No, I mean you'd come back to college.
That's what I would do. Sure. Yes. Now that's just me.
I mean, it's really. Would you take the guaranteed $6.5 million now, or would you take the risk to earn double that? Because the obvious risk here, Paul, is that Furphy gets hurt.
Sure, of course.
Is that Furphy gets into a different draft class where maybe he's not projected as a first round pick, but is projected as a second round pick, and now nothing's guaranteed.
No.
I don't know. It's going to be hard, and obviously like. If he were not an international player and you could come back and KU can tell you, well, he's going to earn $1 million at KU, then I'd say still life-changing money. I'm going to go back. Right. Like if that were on the table, I'd go back for sure because then you have a safety net. I'm not sure how big his safety net can be as an international player. And that's what makes this one unique.
It is.
Than a lot of other, it's easy for Hunter Dickinson to stay at KU. He'll earn more money at KU than he would in the NBA, right? So that becomes an easy decision. For Kevin McCullough, it was an easier decision. Now, had he not got hurt, right? You got to think about it that way. He was in the Naismith conversation before injuries this past year. He wasn't going to be probably a first-round pick last year, so that was an easier decision. Going to come back, going to make a bunch of money, going to do all these things. But I don't think Johnny Furphy gets those luxuries. He's kind of got to make the call otherwise.
Right.
And I just think, like, if he gets through this process and he is certain that he's going in the first round and his people are certain that he's going in the first round, I don't know how you turn that down.
Well,
that would be very hard to turn that down.
You've got a great point, and I get that. And yet I was fascinated with Furphy throughout the entire season. I kind of watched him as he came in, got more and more playing time, became more confident. And there's just something about this kid to me that I think there's still listen, you and I both know there's a lot of still upside to go with this kid. He's still almost in the boyish phase of his life. Shoot, he's what, 18, 19? I mean, he's very, very young. I don't even think he's 20 yet. So here's a kid that I think there's a lot of upside. I just think I wouldn't normally say, gamble on yourself. If you have, a bird in the hand is worth what, two in the bush, I guess is what we would say in this case. But this is a young man. I just get the feeling that he's going to get incrementally better in another season at the University of Kansas. I think I can, and I'm going to make a comment, and you can laugh at me if you want. Johnny Furphy could become the player of the year in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, in 1 year as a sophomore, I think that's maybe a stretch, but there's no question he'll get. There's no question. There's no question he'll get better, right? Like we just see it too often with players like him, with Bill Self. They stay a while and they get really good.
Maybe now, Jacob. Maybe I like the kid more than the average.
No, I don't think you do. We're all big fans. We can all see the upside.
There's upside on this kid. I like
his talent and his upside oozes. I mean, it just does, right? It just absolutely does. And there is risk in both ways. So he's got to. I mean, it's a decision that we'll watch very, very closely. I'm fascinated by it. I don't know what to expect there.
I am fascinated by this.
I don't think there's a correct answer. I think it's all just risk management
that's right. No,
as much as anything else. And we'll see. And it'll obviously impact what KU does because, do they at that point need to bring in another player?
Gotcha.
We'll keep our eye on it. It's a long process, and we're probably not going to know till the very end. So there's that for you. 869-1240 on the IHOP hotline. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Chiefs draft 1 week away. 1 week. What do they do with that first-round pick if Paul Savage is in the chair? I think you know what I would do. I think I've made that abundantly clear here, but we'll revisit that. And do they need to do something, whether the draft otherwise, with this Rashee Rice situation? We'll continue to ponder that as we make our way through this midweek edition of Sports Daily. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily here on KFH. We got the Royals coming up a little later today. Talking Kansas City Chiefs, of course, home of Kansas City Chiefs right here on KFH. Paul, they got the number 32 pick. We're a week away from the draft. What do? Rashee Rice's situation continues to loom. He'll almost certainly face a suspension. People wondered if they needed to attack wide receiver in the first round with that pick anyway. I've told you on these airwaves that I feel like they need to be ready to identify and attack left tackle. If there's a player they really like at that position and they're in a position to move up and take that player, I think it's time to do that. They have shown us in recent years they are good evaluators of offensive linemen. So if they evaluate one that way, let's be done with left tackle. It would leave a hole at wide receiver. I would say they should fill in with a veteran. What's interesting is this week, Andy Reid talked about a lot of things. It's their start of their voluntary off-season, whatever. And Kadarius Toney was brought up, and Andy Reid and the Chiefs continue on the path of calling him probably one of their most talented players. I wonder if we need to at least consider, as we ponder wide receiver, that maybe Kadarius Toney, or to a lesser degree, Sky Moore, could take a step forward this year? Or should we be so jaded by what we saw last year that doesn't even enter the realm of possibility? Well, how do you handle that with those two guys?
Well, that is a very interesting situation, and of course, there's a lot of factors that you and I don't know about. You made an interesting comment, though. I must say that you said, even before the Rice situation, that we would be looking at taking the first pick with a receiver with the first pick, even before the Rice situation. And it's as darn sure as we're sitting here doing this radio show that there's going to be some suspension time. There's going to be some fallout from this whole thing. We both understand that. We get that. That's just going to be the way it is. So I'm almost of the feeling is that I like your offensive lineman challenge. I like it. I understand what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. But aren't there some holes in the receiver core right now that need to be tightened up? And there's going to be several. There's going to be several really decent picks that will be available with the last pick of the first round. A Jalen Polk, or I doubt if he'll be above, but he might be an Adonis Mitchell or somebody like that, receiver out of Texas. There's going to be some of those kind of guys. Jacob, I think you've got to make sure your receiver core is solid. And I think you got to take a receiver. Now, that's just where I'm at. But, man, oh, man, am I sympathetic to your offensive lineman. I know where you're coming. I know the frustration that you're feeling right this very moment as to what to do. And I'm with you. I get it. But I think the urgency of the receiving core is probably the biggest issue on this football team by far at this point. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way.
You don't think that? They don't have right now. Wanya Morris is their left tackle.
All right, I got you.
They're at their last year's backup left tackle is right now penciled in to be their left tackle. Mm-hmm. You good with that?
Well, and I get your point because to go to veterans and fill a couple of spots, is it easier to find a receiver with a veteran, or is it easier to find an offensive tackle with a veteran?
For the Chiefs,
I'm going to say that it's going to be easier to find that receiver.
Really?
Well, don't you think?
They no, I don't. Well, that's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question.
So they obviously identified Rashee Rice well. He was great, right?
That's right.
So they did a good job in his evaluation.
So. I think you're right.
They did not do a good job in Sky Moore's evaluation. They did not do a good job in Kadarius Toney's evaluation as a trade candidate. Mm-hmm. So they kind of got mixed reviews on their evaluations of receivers. Tyreek Hill was good. McCole Hardman was not. So I don't know the answer to that. I would tell you, though, with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and evaluating Joe Thuney out on the market, in recent years, they have been really good at evaluating offensive linemen. And so, again, this all comes down to their board, Paul. Like, I'm not saying they need to reach on anything. They should never reach on anything. But if they identify the left tackle, let's just say this. They have on their board, they have a left tackle and a wide receiver, both identified as players they really like. Now, in order to get either of those players, they would have to move up and trade some draft capital to get either of them.
All right.
And they evaluate them the same way. I would say and prioritize the left tackle.
Well, I can certainly see that. And I'm not going to say you're crazy, but I also know what, we have been talking about the receiver position for how long now? It's been a year? Remember all the drop passes started basically with that, where all of a sudden you go an entire position where you have no confidence. I don't know that the entire confidence has been built back or not. There's just some things that perceive need to be fixed.
Yeah. But think about everything they've invested already at receiver, Paul.
I get
Rashee Rice was an early pick. Sky Moore was an early pick. I think that what did they trade a third for Kadarius Toney? Like, they continue to invest at that position. Do they need to really do that again?
Well,
I don't. I
until
just
they
don't
get
know
it
that
right,
that's the
maybe
answer.
until they get it right, Jacob, maybe they do.
What about until they get left tackle right?
Well, that's
Orlando Brown didn't work. You know, they've tried to bring in these right tackles that aren't, Jawan Taylor, that aren't making it as left tackles, and like Donovan Smith was okay, but like they've been trying to get left tackle right for like ever.
Well, it's
so
and
again, the problem with these things are, because I can't sit here and tell you what I think about the left tackles of this class. I have no idea, right? I can tell you more about what I think of the wide receivers in the class, right? I'm not always right about that. I loved Quentin Johnston, for instance. I'm biased. I watched him play. Of course, I'm going to gravitate to him because he played at TCU and in the Big 12. So the most interesting thing is obviously how they evaluate these positions and people, right? That's what really matters. But if it's, apples to apples and they really like a couple of these players, if I'm picking the greater position of need and the likelihood of addressing it in the draft, go look at the free agent left tackles out there. Not a lot there, right?
Right.
Go look at the free agent wide receivers still out there.
Right.
There's a lot there.
And if
a lot.
If I was going to help you with your case and your case that tackles what you need, I would ask the question. I would start out every conversation with this: just how important is Patrick Mahomes' health? How
exactly?
How important do you think that is, Jacob? I kind of think it's fairly important. Now, that's just me, but I think it's fairly important. How important is it that we keep him from taking hits? Because when you take hits, bad things eventually happen, don't they? And so if you phrase the question like this, all of a sudden I start getting really sympathetic to what you're saying. I really get it. Doesn't take long for me to switch over and think, something? Patrick Mahomes is kind of important to this football team. I think maybe we ought to do whatever it takes to keep him healthy. We'll worry about the other. You still got good quality NFL receivers that you can go get. Are they Marvin Harrison quality? And I use it both as the father and the son, as a number one draft pick and a guy who's all pro year after year. Those two Marvin Harrisons. Do we have those kind? But maybe we don't have Marvin Harrison quality receivers at this point. But maybe you go get them. Maybe you find them. You go develop them. Maybe you trade for them. Maybe you pick one up on free agency. I don't know. Maybe you pick one up when they start making cuts, because there's always some good receivers that are cut just basically by numbers on certain teams. So maybe that's the way you do it. When I ask myself, is Patrick Mahomes important to keep healthy? I'm almost convinced, Jacob, I hate to say this, I'm almost convincing myself that maybe you're right. I'm starting to convince myself. I see your point, because maybe when you phrase it with Patrick Mahomes in the question, it kind of changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he is everything.
He is everything.
It's just like, it's interesting to me to continue to run out there and not be confident in that position specifically. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, just
right?
how
Like,
good
what are you
would
gonna
Patrick
do?
Mahomes be with the offensive line of, say, the Ravens? I mean, pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Well, he rolls around, he makes it work, but he also makes it work with wide receiver.
Right.
I just, and again, if they love and are absolutely just enamored with a receiver, and then you take them and you don't move around, you don't do anything. I just think if there is a tackle that they love, go get him this year. Like, make it happen and be done with that, and you can go get a free agency wide receiver. All right, Katie Woods of the NBC World Series going to join us, tell us about an event they have coming up just on the other side of things. So we'll have that conversation for you as we make our way through Sports Daily.
.97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Hi, Hi, this is Delana with Truck Stop here in Wichita. Spring is finally here and it's time to start thinking about getting outdoors. Whether it's a window vent visor to help block the sun, or a nice soft top for your Jeep, or maybe even a cargo rack for your SUV, we've got you covered. We could put a lift kit on to make it even more fun to take it out on the trails and get a little muddy. We have interest-free financing and a top-notch installation crew, so stop by today to get your truck, Jeep, or SUV ready to get out and have some fun. Come shop local at Truck Stop, 427 North Washington.
Truck Stop. Who makes your first impression all it can be? Pave the way.
Did you know that routine maintenance extends the life of your pavement, saving you thousands of dollars and eliminating liability concerns? Trust the professionals at Pave the Way, specializing in paving, patching, crack sealing, seal coating, and pavement marking. Call 316-990-5855 today for a fast, free estimate. You'll be glad you did.
Pave the way. Kicking asphalt every day.
I'm going after the deals at Crazy J.
Invest in your comfort with quality home furnishings and bedding from Crazy J's. Living room, dining room, and bedroom groups, bunk beds, futons, day beds, and accessories. All at the best prices in town, guaranteed. Delivery, setup, and special financing available. Make your money go further at Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop. East at 1026 South Oliver. West at 604 North Tyler. Or online at crazyjsfurniture.com.
Spangle's sourdough breakfast sandwiches are here. Hot, fresh, and made to order. These sourdough breakfast sandwiches are just what you need to start your day out right. Come on into Spangle's for breakfast and see why we say it just tastes better.
Stop by Spangles for the refreshing cherry limeade cocktail made with vodka. Dine in or drive through, and the extra shot is only 99 cents. The Spangles cherry limeade cocktail. Try one today. Spangles, where cocktails just taste better.
Hi, I'm Renee Stevens, Director of Operations for Spangles Restaurants. Did you know that Spangles now starts all employees at $12 an hour? Whether it's full-time, part-time, breakfast, lunch, or dinner shifts, we have something for everyone. So you can start at any Spangles and get paid $12 an hour for your first hour and every hour after that. Come join our team, stop by any Spangles, and pick up an application. And let's get you started on your new career today.
Freshness made to order. Spangles, it just tastes better. Patterson Legal is the way to go.
I'm attorney Tyler Patterson. Big rig accidents can be devastating, causing big injuries and even death. Special laws apply to these types of accidents. If you've been hurt by a big rig, call Patterson Legal Group today. Our experienced team will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go.
McCurdy Real Estate and Auction is proud to present our April 25th multi-property live stream auction event with online-only bidding. The auction features 39 properties and will take place on McCurdy.com at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, April 25th. All properties will be open to view and tour on Sunday, April 21st from 1 to 5 p.m. Investment properties are in demand, so much so that we added another multi-property auction to our calendar. This is a fantastic opportunity to expand your portfolio with homes located in Southeast Wichita. For details and pictures of all 39 properties, visit McCurdy.com, where our favorite word is sold.
Plumbing troubles? Call the experts at Superior Plumbing. Your best choice for brand name parts, professional plumbing repairs, and licensed certified technicians. Serving Wichita over 50 years for sump pumps, water heaters, showers, tubs, sinks, faucets, water softeners, and more. Online at SuperiorPlumbingICT.com.
Superior Plumbing will come a-running, cause we care, treat you fair and square. And our name says it all.
684-8349.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Get the one and done you want for your dog's monthly protection. NexGard Plus, Afoxalan or Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. Protects against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms. All in one delicious, beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting the preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Join me weekdays at 11 right here on KFH.
Dude, you gotta hear this.
Go ahead. I think I want to hear this.
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily here. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage with you on this Wednesday. A bit coming up this weekend as it pertains to the NBC World Series. Getting ready for 90 years. 90th year coming up. Katie Woods joining us to help talk to us about that event. Katie, welcome in. How are you? Welcome to Sports Daily.
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. Looking forward to the weather turning. Baseball season is here. You guys have another great NBC World Series coming up this summer. But before that, you guys have an event on, what is that? That's this weekend. That's on Sunday over at the Candle Club. Tell us about, this 90th year celebration event that's coming ahead of the tournament this year.
Yeah, with it being the 90th, which is just crazy to have the NBC and all the baseball history for 90 years here in Wichita, we really wanted to start to kind of get more alumni engaged again. We always talk about 900 alumni that have gone on to play in the major leagues that came through the NBC, but there's also thousands of alumni, that have gone on to do other things, not play baseball. And all these people who've been involved with the tournament for decades. So we really wanted a chance to kind of get everybody together and celebrate as we head into the 90th tournament.
Well, it's just amazing. 90 years. It's hard to believe. I remember going to my first game in 1935 and watching that game, and it was a lot of fun. Jacob, that was just for you. That was an old guy joke. Okay. Come on now. But anyway, you've come along so far and it's really, really great. But the one thing I like about you guys and what you do with the NBC is you don't forget the past. The past is so important to the NBC, and that's the one thing. Whether it's been you or whether it's been leadership with Jerry Taylor or any of the other guys that have been in charge of the NBC, you guys don't forget the past. And I'm telling you, that's what makes the NBC so great.
Yeah, it's really special. I mean, one of the stories I like to tell people is last year, Mike Harkey, who's a bench coach for the Yankees, was inducted into our Hall of Fame. And so I went up to Kansas City to go give him his Hall of Fame ring box and certificate last year when the Yankees came down to play the Royals. And he's coached with the Yankees, I think 14 years, something like that. And the first thing he says to me is, my 2 summers in Wichita, best summers of my life. And I'm sitting there going, you coached for the Yankees for 14 years. That can't be the best 2 summers of your life. But the NBC means so much to so many people. And there's just such great memories and such stories that it's really important, I think, that we celebrate the past and keep that going.
So you've got some of these alumni, whether it be coaches, players, umpires, team executives. I'm seeing here reconnecting and sharing some of those stories. Any exciting names that people might recognize or get excited about? Is that what you guys are going to have some of these people there at this event? Is that correct?
Yeah. So, really we focused on Wichita and the local, in Kansas alumni. So Nate Robertson will be there. Brent Chemnitz from Wichita State, some of those Wichita baseball. Is royalty too strong of a word? Those names that everybody knows here in Wichita. And then it's, really fun because no, not for those 2. And then when you talk about, the past, we've been able to connect with some of our Hall of Famers who have passed on with some of their children and grandchildren. Bobby Boyd is one who played for the Dreamliners, and his daughter and grandson we were able to reconnect with recently and kind of talk more about. He's in the Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame. He's in the NBC Hall of Fame. So how do we bring all those stories and all that history to the next generation? So that's kind of what we're hoping to do with events like this.
Well, and that's really great. Because the Hall of Fame, when you look, and by the way, anybody listening to this conversation, hop online and go to the NBC website and click on the Hall of Fame, and you're going to see baseball royalty at Katie. I'm not exaggerating, am I? You're going to see baseball royalty all the way from Satchel Paige to numerous Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Famers. And then, of course, you'll see some of the great names of Kansas baseball. And there'll be names that you don't know, but who had great runs in the 40s and 50s and 60s with teams like Anchorage, teams like the Merchants, teams like just teams that you may not be familiar with, but it's such a rich history. And the NBC Hall of Fame is kind of that collector of all, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's one of those things is we've got Ozzie Smith or Whitey Herzog, who passed away yesterday, who are in those first kind of classes of Hall of Fames for us. But there's also so many people locally. So one thing that we're encouraging, if you played or coached in the tournament, no matter if it was 1 year or 10, on our website, we have an alumni registration form. It's free just to kind of reconnect. So to put what teams you played for, what years. So you just go to nbcbaseball.com to register as an alumni. And it's so fun because, we get alumni registering every day, and there's teams I've never heard of. I mean, just, there's teams that played, 1 year and that was it, or played a couple of years and that was it. And then there's some of those teams that, Cape Girardeau and Anchorage, like you talked about, who were kind of the mainstays for years.
So, Katie, the event this weekend is at the Candle Club, right? And what do people need to know detail-wise? How can they get tickets? What's the timing on this? I see 4 to 7. Is that right on Sunday at the Candle Club?
Yep, 4 to 7 Sunday at the Candle Club. You can get your tickets at nbcbaseball.com. We're going to have food, open bar, lots of great conversations and stories. There'll be live music. And then one thing I think is really special too is we've been working with Butler Creative, the video production team up at Butler, and they're going to be there in one of the back rooms capturing interviews and stories with people so that you've got a chance to tell your NBC story, and we've got a chance to capture those stories on video too. So that's one thing that we're excited about for Sunday.
Can I give a real quick plug?
I'm sorry. Did you say open bar there?
Oh, for God's sakes. You're a tea drinker. You ought to know that.
Just making sure.
It's a baseball event, so we just
oh yes, baseball event. There'll be booze there, Jacob. It's a baseball. And by the way, if you have any interest, and the reason I bring this up is my son, as you know, for many years has been a volunteer out with the NBC. But you're also looking to score. I'm assuming you can still use some volunteers for the tournament itself coming up this summer. I'm assuming you're looking for them at this point still. So if you want to volunteer, there's still a way. There's still plenty of time to volunteer to be a part of the NBC this year.
Yep, we've got that information up on the website too. So
Good.
NBCBaseball.com is it for everything, but. We're a nonprofit organization. And so a lot of when we get to our ticket takers and our ushers and everything like you're talking about is volunteers. So we would love to have anybody that wants to come out and help, whether it's for a game, a day, the whole tournament. We would love it.
Well, Katie, I hope everything is going well as you guys get ready for not only the NBC World Series, but that event this weekend. Sounds like a blast. Again, it's Sunday, 4 to 7. You can get tickets. Just go to the NBC website there, Candle Club. A lot of fun, and we appreciate your time here, and hopefully it's a great event, and hopefully we get another great NBC World Series this summer.
I think it'll be great, and we've got special gifts for all of our guests too. Our event on Sunday is put on by Prairie Fire Coffee Roasters, so we've got some fun gifts for all of our attendees on Sunday too.
Got it.
We appreciate that. Prairie Fire keeps us
Thank
fueled
you.
up here at KFH
Right
also.
here.
Katie,
Yeah.
good luck this summer. Good luck this weekend. Appreciate some time there with Katie Woods, the NBC World Series. Get out there and check that out if you've got some time this weekend. And if you're a baseball fan, certainly, Paul, we're baseball fans.
Oh, gosh.
We've got the Royals coming up here pretty quick today.
I'm going to make a request. Can I make a request of you? I'm going to do it on air. Normally we would do this behind closed doors, but I'm going to make a request because I think you're going to say yes. At some time through the course of this summer, and we're always looking for things to fill our time in the summer. It's not as easy as in the fall with football going on and all that kind of stuff. But you know something? Let's get a Steve Shad or maybe a couple of guys come into the studio on a Wednesday when I'm here and Tommy's here. We'll get somebody come in. I would love to do a walk down history lane with history of the NBC. That's not a bad idea, is it?
No, I mean, especially as we get closer to the
Right.
event. Yeah, we can.
Wouldn't that be
we can
fun
sure
to
take a
talk
look at
about,
that.
to talk about the Bobby Boyds of the world, or even talk about how Satchel Paige ended up in Wichita for 2 or 3 summers playing baseball at the NBC. Satchel Paige, Jacob. I mean, I think if we could get somebody in, we could have a ball walking down memory lane with the NBC and who's been in this town and who has played baseball here. I mean, it's a who's who list of baseball. Let me work on it. Can I work on that for us?
Yeah, and Paul, you're an expert. You've seen all 90 of these things, right?
That's right. I remember the first pitch thrown.
First pitch back in whatever year
1935, Jacob. 1935.
That's
yes,
right.
Yeah.
Makes it 90 years this year, doesn't it?
It does.
So we got Royals today. Paul, I know we talked about this last week, but we've seen another week. Salvi looks like he's going to be okay. He was not going to be in the starting lineup yesterday, by the way, but he was going to be available off the bench. So we think that his status is okay. How excited are you allowing yourself to be on April 17th?
Well, I'm letting myself in. By the way, I saw that play live. I saw it when it happened. And
Sunday,
I saw that.
You thought it was worse, didn't it?
I did.
You thought it was worse.
I thought it was worse.
Too.
I thought it was worse because I saw it live, and I go,
too.
I let it. And there's nobody in the room watching TV with. I'm watching it by myself, and I go, oh no! I mean, just like that loud, in a room by myself, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, and then he walked, and I mean, but it sounds like there's still some problems. I don't know what they are. I guess we'll find out. But I thought to myself, you just can't lose a guy like Salvi. I mean, here the Royals are. They're in the top half of their division. They're playing well. They're 4 or 5 games over 500 from a day or two ago. I mean, golly, and then this happens, and gosh, it just sort of took my breath away. You hate to see that, and all you're wanting is Salvi be okay and get back onto the field because that team needs him. Of all,
and he is. He's okay. It sounds like he's all right.
But yeah, that's right. And that's what. But I still want to see him play, and I worry about it because catchers, it's a unique position. With the bent knees, you wonder why catchers, long-term catchers in baseball, when they hit about 60, start wobbling and limping a little. There's a lot of bending of the knees and that kind of thing. So, but I'm glad he's back. And boy, it was a scary moment. Scary moment.
Well, it was, and it begs the question, and we talked about it earlier in the week. How much catching should the Royals let Salvi do then this year?
Well, that's a good question. I wasn't on the show when you talked about that. That's a darn good question. That's what is he, 31, 32, something like that? I believe that's
yeah, he is either. Yeah, let me pull up his exact age because I don't want to say the wrong thing because it does matter. He is 33.
33. There you go. Okay,
that's 33. I can't remember when his birthday was. I couldn't remember if he had turned or not, but he's 33.
All right. Well, and that's worrisome. But anyway, you get my point. But he's the glue. He is basically the glue of that locker room, of that team. I mean, he's the glue on the field. I mean, everything, comes out from the catcher. I mean, he's the leader on the field. So, I'm glad he's okay. I'll be glad to see him play a few games and get it behind him, and then I'll know. But anyway, it's the Royals are fun to watch. I mean, I'm watching them more than I've watched them in a long time, Jacob.
Well, there's no question they're fun to watch. The question is, how excited are you letting yourself get about their prospects this year?
I'm cautious. I'm optimistic,
guarded,
but I'm cautious. Yeah, guarded is a very good way of putting it. Thank you, Jacob. Yes, I'm guarded.
Yeah.
I don't want disappointment. Have the Royals ever disappointed me? Yes. Does the sun come up every day? Yes. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm getting there. Well, people that listen here know I'm pretty excited about them. You can hear them both games today right here. We'll tell you more about that and what else you can hear on the network as we wrap up Sports Daily next.
Spring is in the air, And that means one thing. Dandelions are coming. Don't let those annoying yellow weeds invade your lawn again. This year, trust your lawn to Ryan Lawn and Tree. This is Larry Ryan. No other lawn care company delivers the results that Ryan Lawn and Tree delivers. More than just providing a beautiful dandelion-free lawn. Your trusted pros in the clean red trucks make sure your entire landscape is healthy, strong, and ready to look great no matter what nature throws at it. And unlike the other guys, the pros at Ryan Lawn and Tree are employee owners, full-time professionals going above and beyond every day with 5-star customer service. Call us or click RyanLawn.com today. And as a new customer, you'll save 50% on your first lawn application. Enjoy a worry-free, effort-free, dandelion-free lawn this year with Ryan Lawn and Tree.
It's time to electrify your excitement for NBA playoff action with BetMGM. Want to boost your odds on your next NBA playoff wager? Just log into your BetMGM account today to receive an odds boost token for playoff hoops action. Then place a wager on any NBA playoff matchup and apply your token. Just make sure to bet up to the minimum stake odds and legs specified on the token. If your boosted wager hits, you'll score up to 50% more winnings. At BetMGM, we're adding more excitement to every playoff showdown. Enjoy BetMGM's exclusive offers on the biggest playoff games and try betting features like Singing Parlay Plus. Tap into postseason thrills with the King of Sportsbooks. Claim your odds boost token today and turn up the heat at BetMGM, an authorized gaming operator of the NBA. BetMGM and GameSense invite you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as unrestricted funds. Please gamble responsibly. Any problem? Call American Gambler in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on Carol. She's more focused on hitting the high note than the car in front of her. Why pay a rate based on anyone else? Get one based on you with DriveWise from Allstate. Not available in Alaska or California, subject to terms and conditions. Rates are determined by several factors which vary by state. In some states, participation in DriveWise allows Allstate to use your driving data for purposes of rating. While in some states, your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Generally, safer drivers will save with DriveWise. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates of Illinois.
Pizza John's has been serving Derby since 1969. We pride ourselves on our great pizza and personal service. We treat all of our customers like family. Pizza John's, 208 South Baltimore. Purveyors of round meals and flat snacks. Order your Pizza John's today.
Is switching your wireless service to Total by Verizon easy? And you get unlimited 5G data, $25 a line for 4 lines on the unlimited plan at an amazing price with no contracts. Should you switch to Total by Verizon? Definitely. Find a store or switch suavemente at totalbyverizon.com. Monthly rate when you activate without a fee plus taxes and fees. Discount begins the month after you enroll. Additional terms apply. See website for data management practices.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
College bowling, the Intercollegiate Singles Championships underway in Louisville. We had qualifying yesterday. On the men's side, Zach Smullen, a sophomore at Newman, finished third in qualifying with a 230 average. On the women's side, Wichita State freshman from Columbia, Sarah Duque, finished third place in qualifying with a 217 average. Moving on today into the quarterfinals. Only 8 bowlers left for individual titles. Duque on the women's side for Wichita State. On the men's side, it's an all-Wichita matchup today. Zach Smullen from Newman versus senior Ryan Barnes from Wichita State. And also competing is Brandon Malish, freshman at Wichita State. The winners of those matches will advance into the Final Four for a singles championship coming up on Saturday. Kansas City Royals rained out at the White Sox last night. A doubleheader today, beginning at 1 o'clock. Listen live to the Royals right here on KFH. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
Laugh out loud funny. Bob and Tom. Mornings on 97.5. in 1240 KFH.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio. 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, that's it for us, everybody. Again, Jim Rome, 11 to 1 today, and then we begin Royals coverage of a doubleheader. That begins at 1. It'll take you all the way up to about 5:45 when Wichita State baseball takes over to Oral Roberts. Speaking of a Wichita State baseball and Oral Roberts connection, let's watch the basketball recruiting and transfer portal news today on that. We'll see if anything happens there. Maybe a bit of a prediction for you. But that's it. For Paul, I'm Jacob. For Jad, appreciate our winners, callers, guests today. We'll be back. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Thanks, Paul.
Enjoyed it. Have fun.
See you then.